Hi friends, today we're going to talk about solving a one-step linear equation. I want to define a few terms before we get started. So when we talk about a linear equation is going to involve an x or a y or a w or some variable, but the important part is the exponent on it is 1. Okay, not a squared or a cubed, just a variable to the first power. When we talk about an equation, the thing that we're going to look for that tells us it's an equation, it has an equal sign. If there's no equal sign, it's just an expression, and all we can do is simplify it. But an equation, we can solve. And when we talk about solving, that means that we're going to get the variable by itself and equal to some value. And that by itself, that's the most important part, and that's what we're going to work on solving a linear equation. All right, so we're going to talk about two types of one-step linear equations. The first type we're going to talk about is addition and subtraction. And you might guess the second part is multiplication and division. So when we talk about an equation involving addition or subtraction, we might be looking at something like x plus 4 equals 6, meaning that x is not by itself because 4 is being added to it. Now this is a one-step linear equation because x is to the first power, we have an equal sign, and there's only one thing happening that keeps x from being all by itself. Now the question I want to ask myself, and sometimes this seems obvious, but other times it's not. Why is x not by itself? Okay? And when I look at that equation, it's not by itself because we're adding 4 to it. So the second question becomes, how do we undo adding 4? So the opposite of plus 4 is minus 4. So we want to do the opposite in order to get this x by itself. I'm going to rewrite this equation again. I have x plus 4 equals 6. And then I'm going to fill in the opposite. I'm going to do the opposite of the thing that's next to x. Now, on an equation, we can always do the same thing to both sides. I can add the same number to both sides. I can subtract the same number from both sides. As long as I'm doing the same thing to both sides, it's legal. So if I want to subtract 4 on the left-hand side to get rid of that plus 4, I need to also subtract 4 on the right-hand side. Now, plus 4 minus 4, that's just going to make 0. And I will be left with x plus 0 or just x on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have 6 minus 4, which is equal to 2. Check it out. We've got our variable all by itself and equal to a value. So we have solved this one-step linear equation. All right, let's look at another one. What if I had w minus 7 is equal to negative 2? Well, when I look at that equation, I can identify my variable, w, and it's not all by itself because we have subtracted 7 from both sides. So, in order to undo minus 7, I'm going to do the opposite on both sides. I'm going to add 7 to both sides. Okay? When I do that, On the left-hand side, I have minus 7 plus 7, which just makes 0. So I'm left with a W all by itself on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have negative 2 plus 7, which is just 5. And as you can see, we've got that variable all by itself equal to a number. So we have solved that linear equation. Let's look at the other operations, which are multiplication and division. Now, you notice addition and subtraction are opposites of each other, or the math word we use is inverse. We use addition to undo subtraction. We use subtraction to undo addition. Same for multiplication and division. They are opposites or inverses of one another. So if I look at an example and I have 3x equals 12, I can take a look at that x and say, well, it's not by itself because it's being multiplied by 3. And so how do I undo multiplying by 3? Or what is the opposite of multiplied by 3? So opposite or undo times 3, that would be divide by 3. So when I have this equation, 3x equals 12, and I want to undo multiply by 3, I'm going to divide by 3. And whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. Now remember when we talked about fractions, if you have a 3 over 3, you can cancel that and end up with a 1. So on that left-hand side, I have 1x, or I'll just write x. On the right-hand side, I have 12 divided by 3, which is just 4. So I end up with a variable by itself equal to a number. So I've solved that linear equation, and I get x equals 4. All right, let's look at one more. What if I had y divided by 3 is equal to 2? Now when I look at this y, I know it's not by itself because it's being divided by 3. The opposite, or how we undo divide by 3, is by multiplying by 3. So opposite of divide by 3 is times 3. So let me rewrite that equation. Y over 3 is equal to 2. And I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. And remember, that's legal as long as I do it on both sides of the equal sign. I'm going to write this 3 as 3 over 1. And then we'll notice that those two 3's are going to cancel out. And I'll be left with 1y on the left-hand side. And then on the other side, I have 2 times 3, which is just 6. So we will end up with an answer of y equals 6. So we've solved that linear equation by getting the variable by itself and equal to a number. Now in the next video, we will combine these two things together to make a two-step linear equation that will involve both addition and subtraction and multiplication and division.